on your screen, you will be seeing our two next ladies. Lyralia, the queen of Whamenqt, the first iteration we had, alongside Infatum, who, in this case, has been also, she's improved significantly. Infatum absolutely dominated this league again. Well, Lyralia did as well. She was a force to be reckoned with in this league, and she again beat me 2-0, of course. She's a very aggressive raider. Have you played against Lyralia, Tim?
I have not, and I think the reason why is because our elos don't match up. She's too high. So
Yeah,
I probably haven't found her. But Whamen, we're seeing two civilizations that we have not seen yet so far. It's going to be a little interesting.
This is going to be a little bit of a, how can we say, I would say a Monka steer, because we're going to be seeing Ottomans and not HRE. Wait. What? Order of the Dragon. There we go. I found it. I found it in my heart. Order of the Dragon. And we're going to be seeing them on. So, do you have any comments on this matchup, Mr. Sir?
Yeah, I played this matchup a lot before the Ottomans got nerfed. So probably maybe about a month ago, and I played it on both sides. It's difficult for the Ottomans to deal with feudal age men-at-arms, and Order of the Dragon, pound for pound, have the best men-at-arms. We're going to see some gilded units storming their way across the battlefield. And also for the Ottomans, they take a little bit of time in order to get things that they need, to get a military school, to get a blacksmith. It takes a long time to study to get your degree to graduate from the military school. So you're going to be able to get those units out in a minute and a half, 2 minutes, when usually it would be like 15 seconds. So a lot of times, Order of the Dragon, they end up not failing too hard in the quantity aspect, because for the Ottomans, it takes a little while for them to get going.
Let's see if they can actually transition into something that we know to love as a civilization that only goes for might work. So, are you ready, Tim?
I'm ready. I'm diving into this series. Let's go. Game number 1 of the second Premier Division semifinals. It is Infatum playing as the Order of the Dragon in the color purple. Her opponent is Lyralia playing in the color yellow, as the Ottomans going to be going for that military school opening when you're playing as the Ottomans. And I'm noticing for Order of the Dragon, I mean, there's a little bit of, usually you try to get an aggressive scout as Order of the Dragon because you want to see what's going on, right? You want to see if there's a front gold you can raid, if there's a food source, if there's wood or something like that you can raid. You plop down a barracks, get yourself a Dark Age Spearman. It just seems like in this particular juncture, and looking at Lyralia's map on the south side, that gold is a rather advantageous gold spawn when it comes to Gorge. A lot of golds end up becoming forward, but hers is probably the most back as you can make it. So you're going to be able to get up to feudal age. So Infatum not going for that Dark Age aggression, and I can respect the decision for sure.
And these two both have the opportunity to harass one another, right? So with Lyralia, she is going to open with the military school. So obviously she wants to get that spearman out there, go poke around here just to see what she can do. But Order of the Dragon, remember, they have spicy, strong villagers that gather faster and better and longer and stronger. So they don't start out with that prelate, meaning they start out with the extra 100 gold. So I feel like by the time the spearman arrives, gold's already gathered,
Yeah, and because, I mean, that spearman, again, it takes a while. There's a lot of books in that school. Wait a minute, it takes a while for that spearman to actually get out there. Not only to study up and how to use that spear in a rather effective manner, but you got to traverse the entirety of the gorge, right? You got to be going over to that gold mine to make sure you're able to do it. What's really nice too is these gilded villagers for Infatum, if you're able to click on one of them just to look at their stats, they are not normal villagers. They have a decent amount of health, 65 health. With textiles, they get 98, which is absolutely insane. And they have a little bit of damage on them too. Instead of doing 6 damage, they do 7. So they end up stacking up pretty decently. I mean, yeah, you get a little bit of idle time, of course, because your villagers are attacking instead of gathering resources, but they can take a fight.
And we see the chapel is coming in hot. And this makes me excited. I am loving it. Because the chapel is something I want to see a bit more of. I know Beastie plays Order of the Dragon, and him and I, we did dabble in some 2v2s yesterday. It was quite fun. But The chapelle was something I haven't experienced this close up properly, and I'm ready. I'm really ready for the chapelle to blow my mind.
So I actually, as somebody who dabbles in Order of the Dragon, I'm
Mhm.
not good at it, but I dabble in it. Uh, the Akin Chapel, I actually really like now. If you take a look at it, these villagers, you don't need a prelate in there to get that inspiration, but you increase your gather rate by 15%. And if you guys don't remember, every gilded villager from the Order of the Dragon already gets 28% increase. So getting that chapel in there, 28 plus 15, I'll do the math for you. Quick maths is 43%, which is pretty good in terms of gathering rate, especially when you don't have as many villagers. It takes a little bit longer for each gilded villager to get completed. Now we finally see that spearman, 3.5 minutes in the game. We finally see that spearman going over there. And Infatum actually takes more of the shut up route than the put up route. Instead of trying to take a fight, she ends up trying to get that outpost over there in the back. You can see all those villagers end up getting inspired. That chapel just makes sure it acts as a lumber camp as well. So it's going to be saving you a little bit of wood in that regard. And now that spearman doesn't really have anywhere to go. That outpost by Infatum is absolutely fantastic when it comes to any kind of Dark Age aggression. You get that tower, especially melee aggression. You get that tower a little bit back to make sure your gold villagers are protected, and it's in the range of your starting town center. So that spearman's got to get out of there.
Yeah, for Dark Age, this tower is something you just cannot deny, and those spearmen now just become dead weight. For now. For now. The thing is, they're pretty good against horsemen, right? But I don't know. I feel like the fact that there's 4 on gold here right now tells me that we might be seeing a semi-fast castle. Or am I just grasping at straws right now? I'm smelling a fast castle, and I'm ready.
Honestly, Whamen, it kind of looks like it. You know, I mean, based on the macro that she's got in terms of her villagers, and she only has a couple on wood. You know, normally when you're going to get aggressive in feudal age, you're doing things like making sure you're adding a couple archery ranges because Order of the Dragon archers are insane. You're doing things like adding a barracks. You have more on wood that you need to macro for. We're not seeing that right now. And I think Infatum is relying on that Ottoman's nerf being as strong as people think that it is. Because Lyralia is going for, she has that first military school. She's going to be able to have that blacksmith, which is going to help. But it takes a little bit of time and a lot of wood to get all of these production buildings that you need. They're a little bit cheaper for the Ottomans. Instead of 150 wood, they're 100. But you're going to need time to do things like get your military school, get all these production buildings, get units. And Infatum is relying on, hopefully, that going through a little bit more delayed so she can get to Castle Age and start steamrolling some map control here.
The fact that she also is placing these houses here tells me that she's not looking to go for the late game. She's looking to end the game quite quickly. I would not be surprised if you see a quick burger drop here. The stable as well. It's right inside the place where you would put your farms. She's not looking at the late game. She's looking at making this a quick one.
Yeah, I don't think she gives any sort of care about farm placement. You know, I mean, also with that Akin Chapel, it is less than 2 tiles away from your starting town center. So you can't put farms in between the chapel and the town center, which could make it a little bit difficult. But she's relying on using those sheep to get up to Castle Age. And it looks like she will be cutting it a little close. She can use those berries a little bit afterward, but they're not going to be inspired. On the flip side, it looks like when she does get to Castle Age, because she added a stable, she's going to be going for things like Gilded Knights, which are such an expensive unit. If you can hover over that to see how much it is, it's double the cost of a normal knight. 280 food and 200 gold. But my God, the amount of health those things have, saved by a couple 3 or 4 sheep, which will be able to help her out in the Castle Age variety. But I would imagine she's looking for something like Whamenqt's Cathedral just to make sure, and she builds that just to make sure that she's able to get some of these relics and then basically play it like the HRE of old. You know, you're doing things like getting these outside food resources. You're trying to get to Imperial Age as quickly as humanly possible so you can use the Swabby and start printing stuff. But Lyralia has other plans. She's starting to continue to mass in Feudal Age, getting some Sipahi, getting some Spearmen, and those Sipahi are really good at trying to stop relics because of how fast they are.
The thing is, a Gilded Knight is really good at stopping anything that tries to stop it. So I think that Gilded Knight is going to be the game changer. The thing is, she doesn't have the food to instantly pop one out. So even though she's going to be making those prelates, she's not going to be getting that Gilded Knight out just yet. It is going to need some time, especially with these guys having to re-rally onto the food. And I do believe that if Lyralia plays this right, she should be able to deny most of the relics, at least initially, until the knight starts poking his face out.
Yeah, and I mean that's you as somebody who does play the HRE, and this is basically how the HRE ends up getting played. So the thing of it is these Gilded Knights, you know, you can't just send a prelate out by itself. And that's exactly what Infatum's doing on the north side. She's trying to get one of those safe relics, but I think Lyralia must know, you know, that relics, she's going to be trying to get those as quickly as possible. So just making sure you have 1 or 2 units parked out. Now, the fact that Infatum doesn't have any military units at all that actually do damage, I mean, she has a scout, but now she finally queues her knight. It takes a little bit of time for that knight to get out there. I would be very hard-pressed to think that prelate escapes with a relic. And now Lyralia can get a little bit of aggression going on here, using some Sipahi, hopefully popping that fortitude ability, and I think that she has, trying to take down some of these. But again, 5 villagers, 5 gilded villagers, creating a little bit of idle time. Essentially, you just stop 20% of Infatum's economy just by sending 2 Sipahi over here.
And the thing is, that second raid is going to kill the villager. But that's the wonderful thing about these villagers. They do have a little bit of extra health, so they're not going to die. And I love that the relic is going to go right in here. So it's not going to be a situation where, oh, that's dangerous. The prelate is going to be able to heal this up. Maybe she does not get 2. Well, she does not get 2. The prelate can get inside as well. And Infatum is making so few mistakes here. The Gilded Knight, not really scared of anything. Let me just go tell you about my stick. And he runs in and he shows... Oh, no. Fast enough. Not today. Not today. But now, this is going to be a very scary unit for Ottoman to deal with. Because you can send your spearmen. This guy doesn't get that. He just doesn't care. He's going to break all those spearmen. Not all at the same time. But looking for some place in the economy first, I assume. We can see that this support is going to go all the way over here, trying to see if the relic is available. The knight is taking a little bit of damage now, but goes for the spearman, realizes, okay, I can kill those first. Takes away the attention as the prelate gets away with the relic. Now the knights are just going to take down this Abahi too. And this is exactly what I meant. You feel like, oh, I can take this fight. And then all of a sudden, 2 units take down 5.
Yeah, I mean, if this was a normal Castle Age knight, it's dead, you know? But what's really nice and what makes a lot of synergy with the Regnus Cathedral and starting to get a lot of these relics is when these knights get low health, they'll just sit by the cathedral and then they'll get healed, you know? So that's what's really, really good for the Order of the Dragon. If you have the ability to heal these units because they're expensive. That Gilded Knight was probably at about 30% health, something like that, just looking at the bar. So being able to get it healed means you instantaneously got another 480 resources. It's like getting another knight.
And Lyralia does join the ranks of Castle Age people in this game, which is great. But she needs to make a play on the rest of these relics because Infatum is going to get ahead even more. And I know for you guys who are not too familiar with the civilization, you might be like, yeah, Infatum is behind in villagers. Villagers are better. You don't need as many. So, ooh, and 3 Gilded Knights do not care about 4 Spearmen. They're just going to take them down. And Infatum just having that control all over around the map, forcing Lyralia to not be able to put them all together, but having to split them up. And Infatum does get the 3rd relic.
Now, I think it's going to depend on, because Infatum did a good job of using those Gilded Knights like we talked about, right? Making sure you're taking down a lot of Ottoman units. And I understand that those Ottoman units were free, but still, being able to disable a lot of that map control that they end up having, that relic with a good job of getting field position, but doesn't end up getting deposited in that cathedral and will be very shortly. But I think it's going to depend on what Infatum makes for getting, you know, what she's going to transition to after these knights. She can't make just knights. As much as I'd love to see it, she can't. So she's adding archery ranges, and she's going to be adding some gilded archers behind this. And these archers hit hard. Not only, I mean, they do good in terms of damage, but it's just the firing speed that they're able to do. Infatum is really exercising her map control. You see that archer, it doesn't even reload its bow. I don't know how it ends up doing it. I think it has a 3rd arm or something that reloads while it does it. But all of these archers are going to be able to make quick work of the spearmen just to make sure those knights stay alive. Lyralia is definitely on the back foot in this particular game.
Oh, and you can see that again in that fight. Lyralia was like, I can take this, but she can't. And that's the problem with Order of the Dragon. We don't face the civilization on ladder as much as we should to really get the experience, to understand what the civilization can do. Because with this military, you are not going to be able to kill this without... I don't even think there's a unit that can take these down. You have knights and you have archers. Or what is going to kill these? Nothing. There's absolutely nothing that can get past that. And she does just try go for the mangonel, but knights actually don't care about those either.
No, I mean those those rocks are pebbles compared to those gilded knights for how much health they have, and you don't get the bonus for the mangonel. So she's really trying to look for a mangonel to try to get through the ranged mass of Infatum for some of those archers. It does take a decent amount of mangonel hits just because every gilded archer has a lot more health, right? So it's going to take a couple mangonel volleys in order to take it down. But also, Lyralia is adding Janissaries in the back end. That's probably the only thing in terms of firepower, because the spears aren't going to do it for you. That's the only thing in terms of firepower that can really take care of these knights. So hopefully Infatum, I hope she doesn't tunnel vision into the knight category, because if there's enough Janissaries, even though we talk about how big these knights are, if there's enough Janissaries, you can one-tap these knights.
I'm just honestly surprised at how impressive this army is, just with 2 types of units. And she just needs to double down on this and keep making them. This feels like a type of composition you're facing that doesn't have a counter. And even though your units are free, the problem comes in when you're dealing with units that don't want to die. Now, we are getting upgrades, which is great. Really, they're awesome. But look at the economy now. There's 1,500 food to 600 wood. She doesn't have the production to make units to try and fight this. And I think this is what's going to cost her the game.
Yeah, it very well could be. I mean, it's all about allocating the amount of villagers to get the resources that you need. And like you said, she's got a little bit of food, she's got a little bit of wood, but she's going for things like Janissaries that are pretty heavy on gold. These knights are going to be able to make a very good raid. Even just 1 or 2 knights is good enough, but she sends the whole pack at them. These charges end up taking up most of the health of these villagers. Janissaries and a spearman are going to be trying to get over there, but oh my god, there's more villagers running for their lives, and there's nothing that they can do to stop these knights right now.
These knights just don't care about the TC fire either. They do have upgrades, but look at the Janissaries just trying. Oh, they're trying, but there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage. That was a lot of damage. Infatum has got about 11 worker kills right now. Economic count at 41 to 43 in favor of Infatum. And if you're playing as Order of the Dragon and you have more villagers than your opponent, you know you're doing pretty good. And we didn't even talk about the 4 relics yet.
And this is the crazy part about this. Remember, she also got stone. So we knew that she was cooking. I was actually expecting to see a second TC, by the way. But no second TC coming out, just tower upgrades. So that is going to be a little bit of a difficult thing to be dealing with if you think about that economy difference. Because these free units, they're great, but they're not immortal.
No, they absolutely aren't. And, you know, I mean, you're getting those free units, which is all well and good, but, you know, Infatum is getting a free, what, 720 gold per minute?
Oh, yeah, that's
so,
true.
You know, I mean, in terms of the economic side, yeah, that advantage, you know, for the Ottomans usually comes from the military schools because you don't have to spend res on units, but Infatum doesn't need villagers on gold. You know, she only has to worry about 2 resources. She has enough gold to make sure that she can get enough knights. She can get enough prelates to heal them. Hopefully she gets inspired warriors for the Order of the Dragon as well, which makes those knights hit even harder. So those military units get inspired, and they are brick houses.
The crazy thing to me is just the healing now. This is the craziest, funnest part of the game, where your units are so tanky and they're just going to take what they want. You see that Lyralia is also trying to get food out there on the map, which is not a safe thing for anyone to do when there are very chunky knights running around. And the thing is, no, they know. Because they see the dead deer on the map. They know there's something going on. And at the same time, on the other side, they see the dead deer on the map. They know something's cooking. And honestly, this Janissary is not the thing you want to be protecting you when there are 3 Gilded Knights on the way to your face. Gets a shot off.
And we're gonna see that charge and that Janissary going down. I think he needed a bazooka instead of whatever gun he had to try to take down those knights. Lyralia ends up pulling most of her mass to the south, but Infatum is dealing with and making raids in 3 different areas. She went to the north, she started to go over to that wood line, now she's over there on the eastern side. But if you're Lyralia and you had to pull basically your entire army mass to deal with 1 or 2 knights, it doesn't look good for you.
These knights are finally taking some damage. I mean, the DC did need about 600 villagers inside of it to kill 1, but she does kill 1. And now this is getting to a point where I think Infatum is just ramping up, and I believe we'll be seeing a very deadly push coming out pretty soon. These Sapahis can't even do any damage because there are upgraded towers from that stone she got earlier. She has the relics. There's nothing that Lyralia can do on this map to do damage to Infatum. Look at all those production buildings as well.
Oh man, I mean those springled towers with a relic in them is gonna make quick work of any raiding unit, and it's very difficult for someone like Lyralia to deal with. You gotta make a unit like a knight if you're gonna do a little bit of damage, but still, if you're not able to do that, then you're gonna not gonna be able to raid anybody. Order of the Dragon's still higher on the economic count. Military count is absolutely insane. She's adding more spearmen with her knights, which is very interesting because, I mean, when it comes to these spearmen, they're going to be able to soak up some fire from the Janissaries, but not necessarily a DPS unit. I think she's really looking towards trying to make sure the Sipahi end up going down from Lyra. And also trying to make sure that if there's mangonels, they could absorb a little bit of fire as well. Obviously, she went with the chapel. She didn't go with Mineworks, so she doesn't get those super awesome, special upgrades. But still, with the Aachen, it just gives her enough of an economic prowess that she has a military count 109. And honestly, Whamen, I feel like if Infatum just brings everybody together and A moves in the middle of Lyra's base, Lyra's done.
Now, this is one of those armies that can just walk through anything. 1 horseman or 1 gilded knight clicking on each mangonel and cleaning up everything. Unless those mangonels hit, and they hit all on top of the archers, there might be an argument to be made here. Let's see.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to need a miracle mangonel shot, to be honest with you. I mean, for how many, because those archers have such a good amount of health, that it means that you're going to need every single one of those volleys to be really good. Those villagers running for their lives over there on the southern side and trying to move up north. It looks like Lyralia, she's trying to take a fight that's advantageous for her, and you can see it on the eastern part of your screen. We finally see that fight becoming Janissaries trying to make quick work of those Gilded Knights, and actually does do a pretty good job, and Fatum doing a good job splitting up her archers on that back line to make sure those mangonels don't do too much damage. They've got prelates all the way in the back, making sure those archers get healed. Those knights make a wraparound up near that north wood line to make sure they're able to take down those mangonels, and those mangonels get absolutely popped into firewood. Archers are going to be able to take down those Janissaries very quickly. Lyralia knows that she's not going to be able to continue this particular match, and she calls it 1-0 going to Infatum. Having those archers, I mean, especially in a staggered formation too, that really helps. And oh my goodness, what do we have in this next matchup, Whamen? It's my love!
It's your
my wife! She's here! John Dark! Oh my god, we get to see my wife in tough acting action. I'm excited for it.
You didn't tell me that she was joining us tonight, Tim.
I know.
One game.
I wanted it to be a surprise.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel like Jean is just a type of civilization that you can be aggressive in feudal, force your opponent to fight you in feudal. If aging up with more villagers to ensure that the knight comes out and sits on top of the line, even the power, the knight don't care because Jean is there.
Wow,
right?
That was, oh my god.
Right?
That was, ho-ho! Hey,
sweet.
chat! What do we got here? Hey. We got a little poet and we don't know it over here. But Whamen, jokes aside, I'm ready to watch my wife in action.
Let's go see your wife, Tim.
Oh my god. I'm gonna do the introductions. It's Lyralia playing as my love, John Dark, in the color yellow, spawning on the eastern side of Himiyama, or what I like to call Himiyo Mama. On the opposite side, it is Infatum playing as the Japanese in the color purple on the western side of the map. And I feel like for Japanese, because this is the first time that we're seeing Himiyama. For Japanese, this is probably the only civilization, Japanese and English probably as a second, where the middle of the map and that little water area there isn't bait. It's okay to do things and make a dock, and that's what Infatum is doing, because having fishing boats half price means that you're able to you don't have to allocate too many villagers on wood, and your age up time isn't too delayed. However, when you're playing against a civilization like Jeanne d'Arc, the love of my life, you're going to get a couple knights out there very, very quickly. So any delay going into feudal age is going to be a problem.
The thing is, this depends on how Lyralia responds, right? Because most people, when they play Jean, they age up with Jean and one more villager. So if she does the normal French age up, then I agree with you. But is she? I really hope let's quickly see what she knows about. Ooh, she might not know that this is cooking. And this might cost her the game, honestly, because if you allow Japanese to get such an aggressive advantage with food early on, I think they could take those knights. I think they could take Jean down as well. I'm sorry, Tim, but your wife might not be strong enough against water.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Whamen, I don't care what you do, but don't ever lie to me like that ever again, because I think with enough spearmen, I think if it is with Jeanne d'Arc being in the woman at arms category, her ability, and even though there's a lot of spearmen, if she gets a couple good whirly doos, like I like to call them, the AoE damage, that 20 damage that hits all of the spearmen, as long as she's able to get good hits on those whirly doos, she's going to be absolutely fantastic. And all of those extra spearmen just end up being more XP.
That sounds like a confident man in his wife, and confident you should be, because Jean is looking at aging up at a normal French timing, which means, ladies and gentlemen, we will be seeing very open map for Jean. This woman is going to be running around with knights, denying any form of fast castle or any shenanigan play that we might see from Japan coming out. Maybe even denying the dock. And I think this is already just spelling out something very positive for Tim's wife.
So this is really, yes, it is. Everything is positive for Jeanne d'Arc, my love. All right, I'm done with these jokes. But it's really interesting, the build that Lyralia is doing, because with 4 villagers on the School of Cavalry, it means when Jeanne d'Arc completes the landmark, she's not going to be at level 2. She's got to do it herself. So having those extra villagers plus Jeanne with the increased building speed time means this is going to be a rather impressive feudal age timing. I'm expecting anywhere in the 340 to 345 kind of range. And when you're talking about French and Jeanne d'Arc, you have to be thinking about what's really important is that first 4 or 5 minutes, again, from packing the snow. So she ends up getting that upgrade at 346. She hits that knight, or cues that knight, pretty much immediately at about 350. At the School of Cavalry, I'm going to throw more numbers at you, because obviously you've been watching us for a couple hours. You know I'm a numbers guy. It takes, for the School of Cavalry, for a Royal Knight to get to actually get produced, takes 28 seconds. And then it usually takes about a half a minute to get to the other side of the map, right? So Infatum knows, while she's getting that Cura storehouse getting built, she knows that she needs a barracks. She knows this. She needs at least 1 or 2 spearmen by about, basically based on 346, as that knight pops out, it'll get to the other side. She's got to, at the 450 mark, she needs a barracks, and she needs a spearman already out, or there's going to be a lot of damage. You know, either to protect the dock, either to protect her gold villagers, just to do something. And the thing of it is, for Infatum, I think we did a quick scan of her base on the western side. I don't see a barracks yet.
The thing is, what I'm thinking she's thinking about is maybe I should get a ship to protect my water eco. But she's also not going fast enough, at least, for the wood. She does have 11 on wood right now, but I don't know, girl. This is going to be a tough one, but she does pull away pretty quickly. That is no damage done. And that was a really, really fast reaction. I actually have not seen anyone react this quickly in a in a very long time. But she did know the night was coming, seeing them with the ships. So might have just timed herself pretty well there. Very nice work, milady. Oh, the night is coming.
Uh-oh. That berry villager. Oh, yeah. It's dead. We'll see you. Little 1-2. How you doing? Keep it moving. It's down. -1 villager for the Japanese, and obviously that helps just because they're doing fishing boats in the middle too. But really interesting for Infatum because she went for a little bit of earlier walls. She didn't go for that outpost on the gold mine, you know? So it just means that if she did want to go castle, it's going to be delayed even further. She's doing things like making a barracks just so she's able to get some of those spearmen. There's another knight that gets a little 1-2. Again, how you doing? Keep it moving. That's another one down. All of a sudden, Jeanne d'Arc and her economic count, which is usually lower than other civilizations, even with those boats, it's relatively even. And Jeanne d'Arc should probably be level 2 by now if she wasn't already.
Oh, what's crazy to me is Lyralia, if you allow Lyralia to play French or Jeanne, she's known to be an absolute goddess. This woman raids like no one I've ever seen. She's the kind of girl they tell you not to worry about, and then she's already killed your man, you know?
That's... I don't want to know what that meme looks like, to be honest, but that's a rough one. It's a rough picture.
You see that she's not going for the whirlwind build, though. How do you feel about your wife taking up the bow instead?
So honestly, she's a jack of all trades and she could do it all. But with her being in the hunter variety, it means she's not particularly worried about ending the game, quote unquote, in feudal. She's going to continue to make knights, and that's all great, and do that kind of stuff. But as one of her knights ends up going down, but she feels like, what I would imagine for Infatum, going castle age is kind of an inevitability. So this is really good. Those divine arrows are really good against mounted samurai, which you can expect in castle age. And plus with this hunter, as you're going to see with one of these villagers, you get a divine arrow off. Hopefully she might be able to. It looks like on that scout, that 40 damage hitting that single unit. So that scout has to almost bled out on the battlefield, but now it will be able to regenerate. But you can pick off villagers. You can pick off villagers doing this. So her having the ability to do it just delays castle age even further. Again, for Infatum, there's absolutely no gold at all. You can see with each individual spearman, they're basically cut to half health as long as they have that divine arrow. And as long as Jeanne stays alive, you'll be able to heal these knights a little bit. That divine restoration, increasing your healing by 30%. And then consecrating, making sure that you're able to continuously produce knights. So instead of relying on Jeanne d'Arc and the Women at Arms build, she's going to go for consecrating some of her important buildings, things like the School of Cavalry, the starting town center, all that good stuff, while also being able to make archers and having archers to take down those spearmen.
What I absolutely love is that she knows the value of a villager. I combined the two words all in one. So she knows the value of a villager, and right now that's exactly what she's getting. She's getting some really good value of just making sure she sacrifices the knight. She knows it's gonna die, but she sees she can get a kill, and she gets the kill. Like right now, this woman has a charge stacked up, so she might be looking at snacking, and she could be snacking on that scout if she turns around.
Yeah, I think it's really well. I mean, she can pop that divine arrow. You're absolutely right, but I think a really interesting thing is those berries are even getting denied. This Japanese player feels absolutely smothered at this particular area. There's another one that looks like knight kill number 3. That really quick one. There's 8 total for these villagers just because those knights ended up charging through at starting town center, and that economic count obviously vastly in favor of Jeanne d'Arc at this point. But it's really interesting that Infatum is going for archers here. She's going for Yumi Ashigaru, and if you click on one of those Whamen, just to give you the specs of those things, they're cheaper units. They cost 30 wood, or 30 food, excuse me, 35 wood. But look at their damage. They do 4 damage. And they're rather, cheaper. So you lose a little bit of health, you lose a little bit of damage, but especially when you're dealing with things like knights, that 1 damage can be very important, especially when you're dealing with things like archers. Making sure that you can take down and one-tap archers is a really big deal. So now Infatum, with enough Yumi, because of how easily they are produced, she does have a mass, but in terms of army value, it's relatively consistent.
This is one of those awkward situations for Lyralia. She wants to just wait for a little bit more, before she engages here, because Infatum does have the numbers, right? So Infatum can take this fight theoretically, and she allowed her to get this water. I think Lyralia could just be waiting for to run out as well, knowing that that food is going to be done. And then she's just going to be in this very unique position where her economy is much stronger. And Knight takes down another one. We now see, are we going to get 10 villager kills total? No, only 9. Only 9 for now. That is a massive, massive loss. Because keep in mind, a villager, I believe, is worth 40 resources per minute. So you do have 9, let's say 8 times 40. And you already have a lot of resources per minute down compared to Lyralia. And if we go switch over here, we will be seeing that the food is still looking healthy because the fishing ships are still delivering. But this puddle is about to expire, and that food economy, ooh, is going down. John doesn't mind this fight at all. She's just snacking on experience. The samurai are scary, but she is pulling the knights back, making sure to target fire those spearmen. She does lose the scout, but she does need to pull back a little bit. Jean just wants to get a little bit of experience and move back. She doesn't want to take this fight just yet. So give her some time, and she will clean up. She just needs to get that upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all about that little bit of experience, you know? And those Royal Knights are going to be running over on the north side, trying to distract these spearmen, these samurai, but do get a good charge on some Yuumi. Maybe we'll see a couple Yuumi experiences. I think it's +6. None of them end up going down, but the Royal Knights are going to be able to get down with no harm to them. And, you know, you're exactly right with Jeanne d'Arc and getting this XP, as we're seeing +8s, +7s fly all over the place. When you're playing against somebody like Jeanne d'Arc, you're seeing +6, a lot of these Yuumi end up going down. When you're playing against somebody like Jeanne d'Arc, the battles that you take need to be incredibly advantageous for you, because you need to get past the expected value of the XP that Jeanne d'Arc is getting. And right now, for Infatum, not only is this not an advantageous battle for her, it wasn't a convincing win for her, but she just fed Jeanne about a couple hundred XP and lost all of her army at the same time. So she's going to be going under dealing with the expected value of the XP while also losing her military mass. And that's when you get to a point when you're playing as Jeanne d'Arc where you are just playing with house money. You can literally do whatever you want. And you know that if you take a bad fight later, your Jeanne ends up getting at level 3 and then it ends up bailing you out.
And the thing is, the food is down. There's no more water. There is absolutely nothing. And now Infatum is at this really strange position where she's like, Jean is about to age up. What now? And the answer is, there's no what now. Jean's about to come for you, and she's about to do so much damage to you that you're not going to understand what to do in any game going forward. She's going to do damage all the way until the next game. That's how good Tim's wife is in this match.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, she's doing so good. I'm going to buy her a horse pretty soon, and we're going to see her at level 3. Sporting that white horse that I think, I don't know, Craigslist I got it from? I don't know. Don't ask. But I mean, what Lyralia is doing as Jeanne d'Arc, just like Infatum fell into her trap. You know, I mean, like, she's fighting in feudal. She's making things like samurai, you know, which are a lot. They're +13 in terms of XP. And Lyralia is continuing to make knights, so the samurai aren't going to be able to do too much. You know, as long as Jeanne d'Arc stays alive, these archers are going to be really good as well against the samurai, just because they're able to take off the refractive armor, right? So I feel like, just for Infatum, I know she feels like she needs to make units in order to stay alive, but it feels like every unit that she makes is an extra +8, +13, +6, you know?
Well, we'll find out soon when Jean mounts that horse if every single experience she gave. And as I say this, she just keeps reading. This woman doesn't stop. I have a feeling that she is going to destroy me tomorrow. I cannot handle night raids like this. And she's just able to attack from the front, attack from the back, keep that knight alive, and keep it waiting for the next one. And this is the problem when you're playing against a person who knows how to be aggressive. So she is running in from the side. She knows that there's a little bit of a vulnerability over here on the wood line. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but walls do not counter archers. So while this knight may be kept at bay, Jeanne and all her Jeannettes are about to die from all the experience. I'm joking. They're going to do the opposite of die. They're going to thrive. And let's see the experience tick tock. Big.
Oh yeah, another +5.
Okay.
I was expecting more talking to add to that tick, but still, +5 is okay. You know, that +5 XP
Take
is
it.
pretty good.
And that's all she needed. She just
Oh,
needed the +5.
She got the horse that got delivered through Amazon. She's here now. A mounted archer. And take a look at, wait a minute, if you could hover over her Q ability now for her divine arrow. It's not +40, it's 100. it's kind of insane.
That is going to be a very, very powerful horse archer. And I don't think Infatum wants to play the late game on this. Infatum says, I'm just going to make a ton of units. I need to do damage to you right now. Well, I know you're on the other side of the map because I'm not going to kill you in a straight up fight. So let's do this.
And I mean, that's honestly, it's insane. It's absolutely insane that Infatum is thinking about something like this. It could be effective, you know, for Lyralia. A lot of her economic prowess, a lot of her food comes from not only consecration, but a lot of these outside food resources. So she's going to be exploiting that with Himiyama. Looks like a couple villagers might end up going down. The Yumi are pretty quick, so they're going to be able to take down a lot of these villagers. But for Lyralia, she just brings her reinforcements back. You can see where all of those knights are. They're starting to group up. She's got 9 in total. She's got a decent amount of archers. And now all of a sudden, with John's champions going to be coming out, they're going to be such good tanks for not only the Yumi, obviously, because they're archers, but just for these samurai, because they don't have Odachi yet. It's not Castle Age. You can see that front line. John's champions making up a good bit of it. Jean getting a good divine restoration, making sure that all of these units are healed. Champions, knights are staying the course against those samurai. These archers are trying to take down a lot of these Yumi, and they are easy pickings for Jean. You're seeing +13s, +6 out the wazoo. Is Jean going to hit level 4 this game? I'm not entirely sure. Military count, 33 to 27 now in favor of Jean. I think she probably got her level 4 bar up by about 20%. And that fight was so advantageous for her, Whamen. She's able to take all of the military mass stat she has, and now she's just going to ship it.
She's even shipping with a villager as well. She is sure about her position, and she is going to destroy it. Now, I don't think that Infatum will give her the opportunity to play French after watching her play Jeanne d'Arc. This feels like that civilization should realize, okay, give this woman a knight, and she's just going to raid me all day. And that's exactly what these knights are going to do. They're just going to go, just remind her that she is very much behind. And Jeanne is just going to snipe anyone she sees. Look at those men-at-arms just going through, doing that extra damage to spearmen as well. She's just enjoying every bit of experience. She don't need no momentum. I think it's over between.
No, she don't. Hey, Whamen, she don't need no man, but she wants me. That's what she told me anyway. Jeanne d'Arc going for game number 2. And we'll be taking this one down, level 3, beating that feudal age Japanese. So now we have a 1-1. And honestly, coming into it before any of this started, months ago, I thought Lyralia was going to be in the finals, pretty much guaranteed. But now she has her back against the wall.
Definitely not an easy match to get to the finals. And Lyralia has been the favorite. And the fact that when we chose the partners for the Empire duos that we're playing tomorrow, I wanted to get the best of the best, but also I wanted to get the people who are the most involved. I'm going to say Japanese, just because Japanese has this ability to close in on Delhi with the Bugattis. You know, those things are going to close in as well. I don't know. I feel like Japanese is favored in this matchup, but I might be wrong. Who knows? Mr. Tim, give us some insight on these magical civilizations.
For Delhi and Japan, and we're going to see this as we dive into the game, about 5 or 6 minutes into the game is when Delhi starts to rear its head, right? About 5 or 6 minutes in the game, if Japan wants to get feudally aggressive, that's when they start to rear its head. However, Delhi just has a bigger head. They have Ghazi Raiders. They have archers with Tower of Victory, you know, so they are able to crush the Yumi for Japan. Japan really, I mean, this is something that I've played this matchup on both sides, and it's frustrating if you're the Japanese player. You know, I've won games as Japan. If you're able to kind of get enough mass and you're able to take down Delhi and you're able to make sure they don't get the sacred sites, yeah, there is a potential for you to win, but it feels more Delhi favored. So diving into game 3 for match point Whamen. I'm excited. Are you ready? Are you ready to dive into this?
I'm ready because I love Cliffside, and I don't know how this is going to play out on Cliffside. So, guys, get ready to transition with budget production Whamen coming on in. And
waiting. Are we transitioning?
yeah, we're transitioning.
Oh my God!
Oh, we're here.
We're transitioning.
We're here.
Hello.
Hi.
Infatum playing as the Japanese in the color purple, spawning on the northern side of the map, and her opponent in this pivotal match point in the Women's Premier Division semifinals is Lyralia playing as the Delhi Sultanate. So we talked about this matchup just a little bit. Obviously, we talked about what units, to use. And what's really nice, honestly, for Delhi is the fact that on Cliffside, usually you're going to see a lot of these deer spawns and a lot of these berry spawns end up being pretty forward. Because Delhi is able to get some of that, some of that map control in feudal, at least for the first, 4 or 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more, they might be able to get to some of those outside food resources. For Japan, on the other side, looking at Infatum's base, that gold is insanely bad. If you take a look at her spawn, being right in front like this, I mean, yeah, you could wall in between the wood lines and that kind of stuff, but that being so forward, especially on a map like Cliffside where your town centers spawn closer to one another, it could be a problem.
Yeah, this is a very unoptimal spawn, and I would have preferred Lyralia's because she has both golds on the same side, which, again, okay, there are some downsides to having your golds on the same side. If your opponent does take control of the map, you do not have a chance. You're not getting either of your golds. But when you're looking at this situation, I do like having a gold on the other side. But again, these golds are all the way in China. I would prefer Lyralia spawn. As an English player who would just put down towers and win the game because I'm English. Thank you, Tim. That's for you because I know how much you love English. So,
Put a lot of towers and farms and play solitaire and win the game. Yeah, I get it.
And build walls.
Oh my God, you said the W word. Man, walls suck. So
how to get him going, boys.
I'm so tilted. I'm so mad.
Okay, let's follow this scout. He has all the food in the world for a berry civilization who don't need no food. So, going all the way back, getting one right from the base of Infatum. BM. You just see there. Infatum putting everything from gold, though, directly to wood. So, not too sure about that. That's interesting. Just wanting to get the age up without continually going on the gold to get upgrades or anything. I guess because she realizes it's going to be important for me to make units. I need units, no matter what. Just make me more units.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because you don't really see the Japanese do this kind of feudal age shenanigans. I mean, they really just like to do things like get mounted samurai and all that. But Infatum has different plans. She's going to add the Kira storehouse right to the eastern side of her town center, which I think is a really, really good placement. Because if we have an ability, if we could take a look at the Kira storehouse based on where the thing is actually built, the first farm always spawns to the northwest of the landmark. So she uses it to make sure that she saves a little bit of wood to get a lumber camp. She's going to be able to get things like barracks and archery ranges out quicker, while also her first 4 farms are pretty much guaranteed to be safe. So it's a really good place for, making sure you're getting protected against Ghazi raiders, number 1. Number 2, you're also going to be able to save a little bit of wood to get up and running a little bit quicker. For Lyralia, obviously, it takes her for the Delhi. She's going to be having a really good age up time, probably around 415, 420 blaze it, and then she'll be able to put her buildings down.
What does get me though is that she doesn't leave any villages over here. Usually when Delhi players age up, they do go and keep their villages, or some villages, over on gold, so that they're able to get that prelate, or not prelate. I need to remember, scholar. Delhi has scholars, so they want to make sure that they get a second scholar out pretty early on. And that's not what just happened. Oh, she does switch over. She's gonna go get Sanctity. We did see a game earlier today where Sanctity was a little bit forgotten. So I'm very glad to see that Lyralia shows us get the Sanctity first. She knows what's up. But the upgrades from Delhi, and again guys, remember Delhi has free upgrades, so these upgrades do tick slowly. but they are going to be a distraction once they're out. Now, what I'm assuming she's doing is she's just making sure that she gets her upgrade, she's going to get Sanctity, and she's going to use these 2 that she has over here and just send them around capturing the sacred sites. She will not take any big risks. Now, Infatum, on the other hand, back on gold, and honestly, with the amount of villagers that we're seeing on wood, it doesn't feel like we're going to get a lot of units out.
No, I mean, I'm noticing well, especially, I mean, for the Delhi player having a lot of villagers on wood, it just means that you got to be able to get those buildings out as quickly as possible, right? So usually in this early Delhi stage, you do have 10 or 11 on wood because you got to do things like get a stable and then get an archery range and then make units out of them, which costs a little bit of wood, and then get your blacksmiths up. It's so much wood. And then you can end up remacroing a little bit afterward. Looking at Infatum on the other side, just like you talked about, she's only got 4 on wood right now. So she's trying to get up to castle as quickly as possible. Again, we talked about that front gold and being how important it is to make sure that that gold ends up being secure. So she does add the outpost. She's going to be adding more villagers because she notices with her macro, her gold is falling behind. So basically for her and getting the ability to do this, as long as Lyra continues to keep putting pressure on, to keep creating idle time, it means that Infatum can never get to castle age, but she's kind of letting her mine a little bit here. She's trying to get some of these sacred sites. She's more concerned about the middle of the map than Infatum's side of the map, and could this prove to be damaging to her?
This is one of those that I absolutely love to see what Infatum did here. She went for the berries. She doubled down on the berries. Even though she does have fast to gather, right? She did get the upgrades, so the berries do give a fast one, faster than usual berries. But this left the sheep to be all the way available until castle. She still has 9 sheep, and those are just the alive ones. So with that, you have a lot of food available to you. So even when she does go for castle now, she's going to have the food available to make units. This outpost getting upgraded as well from the passive stone that you get from the gold is such a big advantage just to carry you through and ward off those Ghazi raiders that are trying to get some damage done on you. Now, Lyralia is using this opportunity to, I'm assuming, to be able to go and capture these sacred sites, because she needs to find a way to keep up with Delhi, and it's kind of urgent.
Yeah, you know, what kind of helps for Infatum as she's dealing with another Ghazi Raider raid, say that 5 times fast, on the eastern side of this wood line. So obviously the Kira Storehouse adding being able to garrison some villagers is going to help you out. But also, you know, she's not literally, she's not making too many units, which is something that I was expecting her to make a little bit more. I mean, she is going to have a decent amount of feudal age units, but the thing of it is, for Infatum, that really helps out is she's going to start to get that floating gate down. You see about 10 villagers starting to build it, and it will be done very quickly. She's got a stable right next to it so that Shinto priest can drop off that box right into the stable. And then you would be surprised how quickly you're able to mass up mounted samurai, especially against a Lyralia build that has Ghazi raiders and archers. Having things like mounted samurai, if you have probably 4 or 5 in this battle, you will win it.
The problem with mounted samurai is, again, they're just so good. And I know Ghazi raiders, everybody's like, yeah, Ghazi raiders have maces. Those maces do not have enough damage to deal with a proper mounted samurai. Mounted samurais are made of stone and destruction. So there's no way in this world that they are going to be even intimidated by a little Ghazi raider. Now, the fast reaction from Infatum is really smart here. And literally, it didn't get the right level of pressure down that she needs to control feudal. She's only getting her 3rd sacred site now, and that's great and all. But, girl, I think you also might need to consider going castle or just getting units that counter those mounted samurais like spears. But she's just making more archers and more Ghazi raiders, hoping to control these sacred sites for just a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand why she's doing it, because she's trying to get up to castle as quickly as possible, but she's still also making units, you know? I mean, I feel like for Lyra, you got to do one or the other, you know? If you want those sacred sites, you're going to end up, you know, getting all 3 of them, get some of that gold mass, that's all well and good. But making units while trying to get up to castle age, I mean, or trying to control these sacred sites, I'm not sure how effective it's going to be, because not only, for some of these sacred sites, you're going to lose that map control pretty quickly just because of the amount of mounted samurai are going to be coming out of that stable, but again, this is a quantity over quality situation. And I'm not really sure, just based on for Lyralia, she's continuing to make these units, but she also is halfway to castle also. A macro. And I kind of just wish she would pick one or the other.
And at this point, Lyralia, it just looks like she doesn't made a decision. And that's going to be really tough for her, knowing that Infatum has made a decision already. Infatum has decided, I'm going for castle, and I'm going to raid you. And those mounted samurai are not taking any damage whatsoever. They're just chilling. They're just getting, they're just taking a little bit of damage from the DC, not really caring that much. This one is a little bit of danger, but keep in mind, those are 9 idle villages. Infatum already got the value back for that mounted samurai.
Well, and think of this, how many workers actually went down because of that mounted samurai. You can see it on the bottom left part of your screen. It's 9. 9 workers are down. Lyralia has 28, now 29 villagers, whereas Japan has a technological advantage, right? They have the macro in order to continuously produce at a Yoroshiru buffed stable in Castle Age. Now, Lyralia, now with all of this military mass, she's going to be doing the best she can, and I think this is the point where she really needs to strike here, because as long as this game continues to go, the longer that Infatum has to mass up a lot of these samurai. And now she's starting to add a barracks as well, because her Yoroshiru stable isn't producing mounted samurai fast enough. And she also noticed that Lyralia starting to add a little bit of spearmen. You can see some of those spearmen are going to be making their way on the battlefield. So Infatum is going to be adding some more heavy units. She's going to be adding samurai and getting that samurai buff. Now she's going to be able to get bannermen because she has her Daimyo Manor. So the bannermen are going to help out in the military regard. And just like you said with those Ghazi raiders, as more raids are happening on this deer pack, again, Lyralia not having as much VAP control as she thought she did. So those outside food resources end up getting taken away from her, end up getting stripped from her. And look at Whamen on the top left of your screen. Look at the macro right now. Look how much food she has.
None. That's quite tough, because now you're seeing this thing get to a point where there's so much gold from all the sacred sites, but Lyralia is attacking you at the gold, but she needed to do this minutes ago. And now this attack is just a little bit too late. Infatum is drowning in resources at this point, and I don't know if there's going to be any chance of Lyralia getting enough damage done and getting to Castle Age in time. The villagers on the deer now doing what they can. We have berries at the back here, which can't be touched because, again, there's just raids and stuff going on constantly. Oh, look at the scout just keeping an eye on those berries too. And then we are seeing the tower. This is a very, very crucial tower for Lyralia, because she's not going to get any food if she doesn't get this. These guys are tapping out this last bit of sheep as well. Oh, my brain just forgot the word sheep. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot for her, I mean, you can see the change that Lyralia did. She just basically cut her gold in half because she needed a market to buy food, because her food is restricted, right? So now she's going to be dealing with Castle Age Samurai and Castle Age Samurai on a horse. Good luck. They're not going to be able to be dealing with this. The Ghazi Raiders, they only get that +2 to heavy, so are they going to be doing too much? No, because of the fact they have no melee armor, right? They have that blacksmith tech, but that's pretty much it. These Ghazi Raiders go down in the blink of an eye. They don't attack really fast as well. A lot of these spearmen can't get into the mounted samurai, and you can see just based on that quality over quantity fight, or lack thereof, it was 40 to 45 units for Lyralia. Infatum probably had 20, and she ended up, after that battle, having more units.
And this was a tricky move by Lyralia to split her army like this, which is, honestly, she had to do this. You need to be able to do damage to your opponent, and she did do damage. You can see the villagers that got killed, she caught up. And that's probably because of this Ghazi Raider Raiden. There we go, we found it. And the fact that she can split them, this is keeping her in the game. If she was just taking that fight straight up, she'd be dead. But right now, she has 29 on food. We can see she is just trying to get there as fast as possible. But the question is, once you hit castle, what then? You don't have enough food to make Castle Age units. You have enough gold, luckily. She does have some gold for the upgrades. But she's not in a position where she's okay with going castle and then producing castle age units. Skazi Raiders are doing really good work at the moment, though. But that
Yeah,
outpost.
it's actually a super good point that you made about the deli and aging up, because as soon as you see them age up, obviously it takes time for them to make those castle age units, right? So if they're making, men at arms or crossbowmen or what have you, but the army that they still have when going from feudal to castle age, we all know for a lot of civilizations, you're like, okay, they're not upgraded yet, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But going from archer to veteran archer, going from Ghazi Raider to veteran Ghazi Raider, it takes like 3 minutes and some change. So you have a lot of time in order to deal with it. Now, Lyralia, she is so desperate to try to get any kind of food whatsoever. She's going to go to all of those berries on the eastern side. She's going to be trying to take that deer pack on the southeastern side. I don't know if she has enough wood to continue to get all of the outposts that she needs, but she's got this castle age Japanese death ball staring her in the face right where this deer pack is. Her villagers have to run out of the way. I don't know where Lyra's mass is. Her military is right now, but even though, wherever that mass is, I don't know if I particularly want this fight, but she's going to take it.
She doesn't have a choice at this point. These villagers are just trying to get away. The Ghazi Raiders are trying to close in, and this looks like a decent fight for Lyralia, honestly. But these are castle age units. Those archers are running away because they know what's going to happen to them. And the spearmen are melting. They were trying to do damage, but nothing can be done. Oh, the Ghazi Raider might just be converted. Makes it out. He still lives to tell the tale as well. And these guys are trying to do their best, but spearmen are just not the thing you want to get against those chunky samurais. They are cleaning up quite well, and this looks like it is going to be a destruction. They go right through.
You're seeing one military count go down and the other one kind of staying the same. Infatum had 30 units coming into that battle. Now she's at 25. Lyralia had 45. Now she's down to 15, 13, continuing to dwindle because those archers are basically not shooting anything. I don't know what they're shooting, but they're basically firing compressed air at those samurai because of how much those arrows actually do. And Lyralia, she tried to go up to Castle Age. She wasn't going to be able to do that. And now Lyralia actually goes down in game 3. Guys, that was match point. Infatum is going to the finals.